Well, hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. Or if it's your first time here, welcome especially. I'm Sally, and I'm so glad you stopped by. I'm doing something a little bit different today that actually takes me all the way back to when I first started YouTube and did some fitness tutorials, but I'm going to be doing a foam rolling tutorial for the sake of both myofascial release and lymphatic drainage. I shared about foam rolling as a means for lymphatic drainage in a video recently, and I had some questions if I could share a foam rolling routine. This is actually something that I used to teach a class on when I was teaching fitness classes. And so I'm excited to share some of this with you. All you need is a foam roller. This is a really small one from Amazon. You can get one for like 10 bucks. They are not expensive. I mean, if you think about what you're paying for a piece of foam, does that still seem expensive? A little bit, but that's okay. Mine's a little smushed because it was crammed in a moving box, but it'll still work just fine. And yeah, that's it. So I'm just gonna take you mainly through the lower body and through the back, which is what I generally focus on. You can also foam roll through your arms, but I'm not gonna focus on that for today. Also, just one more note in terms of, I guess, a disclaimer we'll say before I get into it. I am going to foam roll my IT bands and show you how I do this. There's kind of mixed opinions on whether or not you should foam roll your IT bands. And I would just encourage you to do some research on that on your own. It has always worked really well for me. I have always found a lot of relief in that, especially having to do with some knee pain that I have had. So I'm gonna show you how, but do your own research, and if you have an educated opinion on the matter, please don't hesitate to leave that in the comments, because I am curious to hear what different people have to say. So last thing before we get into it, just want to let you guys know that my starter guide, Basics, a pro-metabolic starter guide, is currently 25% off through the end of January. And if you purchase Basics using code JAN2024, I'll make sure that's all in the description box, you will actually be entered into a giveaway to win free nutritional therapy. So definitely go take advantage of that. If you have been on the fence considering purchasing Basics, now is a better time than ever to do that. But let's get started. So I like to start off with my calves, or with my calf on one leg, and then make my way up one leg and then back down on the other. So I'm just going to start by lifting my leg up, setting the foam roller underneath. You can actually also do this with a lacrosse ball. I find for myself with my calves, they're usually either very tender or I barely feel this at all. Today's one of those days where I'm barely feeling it at all, but I like to press myself up onto my hands and onto one leg. And with each body part, you will see that I start with big movements up and down the length of the muscle group, kind of turning in and out. I'll do this for 30 seconds to a minute, taking deep breaths. You really want to ease into it. And then you're going to find the areas that are a little sticky, a little bit more painful, and that's where you really want to focus. So for me, I'm noticing it along the outer and inner sides. So I'm just finding those areas that are a little bit sticky, shortening my movements, breathing into it. And this will become more applicable as you get to the bigger muscle groups in your legs. You can also just pause over those places and really breathe into it to deepen the work that you're doing here. Turning my leg in and out. You can go as far out to the side as you want. The general rule with this is just to avoid your bones. You don't want to be rolling over bare bone. I'm now going to move to my hamstring, and you can of course pause this video if you're not ready to proceed. Take more time on any given part of your body. But moving on to my hamstring, same idea. I'm going to take big strokes up and down here. And I like to turn my leg in and out. So when I do my hamstring is also generally when I'm going to be doing my inner thigh, or at least the further back portion of my inner thigh. Pausing right here, shortening the movement as I find that sticky spot. It's not too bad today. And then I'm going to turn my foot in. And this can be really tender, so just be mindful of those inner thighs, but turning my foot in, continuing to move up and down. There we go. So from here, I find that it's a really natural transition over to that IT band. I'm just going to pivot onto my side, and this is usually quite intense, especially if you're new to foam rolling. Generally speaking, with foam rolling, it gets easier as you're more used to it. So if you are feeling it very intensely at first, take your time, just do it for a few minutes, and then try to make a habit out of it, because it will get a lot easier. So I like to go up and down here. I like to imagine that my leg is just butter melting over the foam roller, and then I find that spot that feels clunky or sticky, and I'm just gonna pause. Good time to work on your breath. Breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. As a whole, this experience is just fantastic stimulation for your vagus nerve. Fantastic way to get you into your parasympathetic state. If you're feeling stressed out, you can feel it right there, up closer to my hip. If you're feeling stressed out, if you're feeling worked up, this is a great way to just kind of get into your body and calm your mind. There we go. You can also rotate back and forth here. For some people, you might hold more tension down closer to your knee. For some people, it might be up closer to your hip. Totally up to you. You can give yourself a kickstand like this. You can stack your legs. You can also put your leg behind. And now we're gonna rotate over to the quad. So on the quad, this is also another rather intense place for me. Rolling up and down the length of it. I like to turn my leg in and out here. This is another place to get really into your inner thigh. You can find like a frog position with your one leg. And then I like to focus in just above my knee and kind of turn in and out. Don't forget, pause this video if you want to spend longer on any body part. I'm doing this a little bit quickly, but I recommend taking at least a couple minutes per muscle group. You can also get up here. Nice. Okay, so when you're ready, you're gonna rotate around. We're gonna take the foam roller all the way up to our glutes. So take a seat on the roller is how I find this works best to start. Take both of your knees, we're doing the right side now, so take both of your knees and lean them to the right. This might be enough for you right here, getting into your glute. Again, we're avoiding the bones, so we're on one side, moving gently up and down and using your bones as your kind of guide rails. That's where you stop. Now, if you want more intensity, you're gonna take your right leg, again, we're doing the right side, right leg crosses over the left leg, and you just lean into that side a little bit further. Perfect. All right, when you're ready, we're just gonna switch sides. Now we'll make our way down the other side of the body, and then we will bring our attention to the back for some good work through there. So shifting sides, I set my right glute on the roller. I turn my knees over to the side. And then if I wanna bring the intensity up, I'm gonna cross over right here. Next step, let's shift over. I'm just gonna go to the IT band here. Again, it's not the exact same order. That doesn't necessarily matter. I just do what feels logical, makes sense. Taking your time, you will most likely notice that one side of your body is a lot stiffer than the other. For me, it's always that right leg. So I'll take longer on that, but realize that it is important to do both sides to keep things balanced. There we go. Although on this side, that inner thigh down by my knee is very tender. Do try to keep your shoulders relaxed, neck relaxed throughout this experience. That's kind of the one thing where it's easy to tense up your upper body because you are supporting it. And this is also one area where we just want to lean into the discomfort. It's not perfectly great feeling all the time, but it is an area where that's okay. Lean into that discomfort. That's where you're really going to find the growth, the expansion, the benefits. But if you're feeling outright pain or super sharp pain, then that is a sign that we need to stop or dial it back. It's like finding that line where it's uncomfortable, but it's manageable. So you're able to breathe into it, to let go and relax. And you can see here, I'm leaning a little bit more into my inner thigh since I was finding some tenderness here. And we'll go all the way over to my hamstring. Taking a seat, shifting the roller down to my calf, pushing myself up so that I can put a little more weight on it and continuing. I'll make sure to put this as a note in the video description so you guys can see it before you start watching. I should have said earlier, make sure your body's not super cold when you start this. When I'm teaching a class, I'll often start with a little stretch ahead of time, dynamic stretching to get blood flowing, get your body warmed up and prepared to relax into these positions. Don't wanna start cold. You don't wanna start really deep static stretches or still long hold stretches before your body is warm. Okay, so I think my legs are good. We're gonna transition to the back. Now I like to start with the upper back, and then as I get warmed up in this department, I will transition down to my lower back as well. So put that roller just about halfway up your back. I like to take my hands behind my head, and this just feels really good in my opinion. I rock onto my toes, back onto my heels, going about 3/4 of the way up and down my back. And what's really nice here is you can kind of lean side to side, opening up, getting in between those shoulder blades. And I will show you one more arm related thing here. If you want, be careful of your shoulder, of the bones in your shoulder. But you can come all the way to the side and get into that tricep and more of that delt. It's very intuitive. Okay. Coming back through center, you can continue for as long as you need, as long as you want, going up and down. And then when you're ready, you just want to make sure you kind of lift your chest as we move into that lower back, so that you don't strain it. Generally that lower back is fine, but if you're one who is more prone to spasms or just haven't done this before, I would encourage you to be especially careful with it. But same thing, you can lean left and right here. Now dropping onto this hip, same thing, getting under my shoulder. Under that tricep. Hopefully this gives you a slightly better angle. Interesting to see how
it's different from side to side. The other shoulder, I could barely feel it. Here, this one is very, very apparently cranky. Carefully, whoop, you'll slide all around. It's not the most graceful process, but carefully you come back through center. When you're ready, just taking a seat. I like to shake it out a little bit, roll out your shoulders, roll out that neck. And that's really it. That's how I foam roll primarily my lower body and my back. You can always use a lacrosse ball, particularly for those calves. You can also use it for the back as long as you're going kind of one side at a time. If you're interested in more videos like that, especially if you wanted something with the lacrosse ball, let me know. I'd be happy to share. And one more note on the foam roller itself. You can do this with a small foam roller. You can also do this with a full-size foam roller, but I do actually think that the smaller ones are a little bit easier to maneuver, and they are obviously less expensive. So don't forget to go check out Basics while it is 25% off, and while you get automatically entered into that giveaway to win free nutritional therapy. Again, code JAN2024 will get you 25% off your order. Thanks for being here, and until next time, bye y'all.